Welcome, everyone, to the Young and Bold segment. I'm your host, Destiny Bell, and I have the beautiful co host.
My name is Jade, and I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, welcome, everyone. I hope you're excited for today. Today's topic is being a Black man in America. And I know some of our viewers are Black men, so sit down, get ready for this conversation that needs to happen.
Gonna be a good one. Gonna be a good one.
All right, so from a Black woman's perspective, Jade, how do you think Black men are portrayed in America?
From my perspective, I believe Black men are definitely, for the most part, are definitely treated unfairly.
Mm,
We've seen countless times where um, someone may have committed some sort of crime, and a person of European background would commit the same crime, but their timing and their sentences wouldn't be nearly as harsh as if it would be for um, a African American male. So I
mm,
definitely believe that major- majority of the time, Black men are definitely treated unfairly in America.
mm. I agree. I think there's not necessarily a double standard, but there's a problem with racism. That's the
Mhm,
word. It's racism.
mhm,
I don't know any people with European background that get anxious when they're pulled over by police officers, or all of my friends with European backgrounds, they really don't care about the law because they know that they have a privilege just because of
mhm.
their skin color. Now, on
Yep.
the other hand, my friends with the same background as me, they know that, yeah, if you do something wrong, 9 times out of 10, there's no backing down. You're going to jail, or you're going to suffer the consequences that aren't necessary, actually, like
Yep.
the consequences as well as death. And that's just real life for Black men and women in America.
Yeah, and
So,
some of them don't even make it. Sometimes they just kill them before they
hmm
can even, get a chance to even I don't want to use the word, I guess for lack of better words, explain themselves, or
hmm
or even give them the benefit of the doubt, just simply because of the color of their skin is almost as if they're automatically deemed guilty. So
hmm
yeah, it's
and it's
definitely a
sad. It's sad to say, because even with the body cameras that police have now, you would think that it's going to help our community more. And social media, people get on Facebook and Instagram Live when they're pulled over by a police officer, which shouldn't happen, or anything. Cameras on people's houses when you're calling a police officer to come to your house because someone is having a mental illness and like a panic attack, but they're
Mhm.
coming and they're ending up dead instead of going to a mental facility. Like, it's not okay, and it is terrible. So being a Black woman and witnessing what they do to not only women but men, is it's
Mhm.
it's honestly
Yeah,
disgusting to see.
yeah.
But that brings us into the next portion of our show. We have a lovely guest, and his name is Gerard Maddox. He's a Baltimore native. After graduating high school, he attended and graduated from South Carolina State University, cum laude in 2019 with a BA in political science. Okay, intelligent Black man.
Okay.
Throughout his matriculation at State, he pledged Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and is one of the founders of King Talk, speaking and mentoring freshmen. Currently, he is obtaining his master's degree at the University of Baltimore in public policy.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Very excited to have
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Well, before we get into the topic, how do you feel being a Black man in America? Not only just Black man, but you're educated. You have your degree. How does that feel?
Well, it's kind of like devil's advocate, in a sense,
Mm,
because, being an educated black man, they don't expect you to be educated, first of
mhm,
all. Second of all, being a black man in America is very tough. You have to work twice as hard um, just to get a simple job, you know what I'm saying? And um, it's crazy, just me just driving down the street. I have to look over my shoulder, look at what's this mirror called? Yeah.
Yeah.
your rear view mirror,
Yeah.
and you know, your heart just start to pump. You know, when you see a police just standing there, and you just trying to get home. But you know, just to answer your question, it's definitely tough being a black man in America. But that's why education, is playing an important part in my life. I'm studying political science just to know how the process works as far as legislation, and how bills are getting passed. But it's a great thing to, study that just to, see how things going and, watching the news just to see how bills are getting passed, things like that.
So what is the process like studying political science, especially being a black man?
Well, at first it's hard because it's a lot of reading and writing and researching,
Mhm.
which, growing up in Baltimore City, at first I was, hitting, to the wrong path just because, you're in that environment.
Right.
And, you want to play the game, you want to worry about girls, at that time. But in college, focusing on political science, I really found it interesting that the process is really simple, but it's hard at the same time because all you got to do is, like I said, just read, write, research. But what you're researching is like, difficult topics. You can go as far as, how um, a judicial, how the judicial branch is, how the legislative branch is, how the executive branch is. You got to know about, there's so many different type of governments, like people probably don't even know about. You have stakeholders, you have, what else? I'm just trying to, give you guys all of it. Stakeholders, you got have different elected officials. You have different municipalities in different towns. You got to know how different towns work because just because I live in a major city, Baltimore, if I visit a small country town, you got to know how their laws operate.
Yep.
It's just you got to be educated.
So
Well,
do you? Oh, you can
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Well, no, I was just gonna ask, like, so what actually made you want to study political science? Like,
So what's funny is I actually wanted to be a social worker. And then I ended up changing because I didn't like the fact that I was going to be able to take kids away from their, parents, things like that. So I switched. I said, you know what, how about I help? Because I love children. I love helping people. So, I want to change the way for the young people growing up, but just focus it more on the public policy, helping them, get more funding into schools, helping them, get more resources in their communities, things like that. So that's what made me want to get into political science.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So basically, you wanted to help with like the laws so that children aren't taken away from their parents.
Well, I don't want to say laws, just policy, like
Okay, policy.
certain policies, right.
Basically making it easier for children, I'm assuming of our descent, to stay
Well,
active or, well,
yeah, I got you. Yeah.
well, pretty so that children can kind of, I guess, maybe like stay active so that they aren't in a predicament where they have to be taken away
Right,
from their
in the
parents.
streets, or like I
Got,
said, giving more resources to the communities that need it.
got you.
Do you find that when you're studying these policies and learning about everything that you're studying, that there's biases that normal people that don't know, and like me, I'm not too educated on the topic, but I wouldn't notice.
Most definitely, and like just taking away from public policy aside, I was talking to so recently. I just proposed to my girlfriend, so she's my fiance. So I was just talking to my So I was just talking to her the other day, and what was so crazy, not even just anything. Reading is very fundamental, and a lot of white people know that black people don't read. So what's crazy is something happened in my town Well, I live in Bel Air right now, so something happened in my town, and they have these newspaper. They have the newspaper called the Aegis, um, which is a small local newspaper company compared to like you guys know about the Baltimore Sun, right? That's the major news production or whatever. But the Aegis had something in there, and I read it, and it was something about the Royal Farms, like around the corner. So I was talking to this white guy at the counter, and I asked him about what was on the Aegis, and he was just like so shocked, like you
Wow. Uh-oh, I think he muted himself.
You accidentally muted yourself, Gerard.
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I was just saying, he really didn't even expect me to even read a local newspaper. So it's really important. This thing, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just really important to, really just know what's going on in your surroundings. Even reading your local newspaper is very important. They might have a $50,000 grant in the newspaper, and just because Black people don't read, in a sense, you're missing out on $50,000 in a grant. So it's just very important. But to answer your question, it was about policy, right? You said, is it biased? Yes, because like I said, they think that we don't read, so they put it in books. So if you don't look in a book, you don't really know your laws, your policies, your fundamental rights, your Bill of Rights is crazy. It's crazy how many people don't know about the rights that they have, and things like that. But I just feel like with me being an elected official and trying to be an elected official, that we put the resources where it need to be so that people of color like us can know about our Bill of Rights and certain policies that affect us on a day basis.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely very, very, very important to so that we are a lot, like you said, a lot of us, because it's stereotypical of us to not read. It's a lot of rights and things that we don't even know about, and we lose out on so much because we just don't know. And then I don't want to put all the blame on Caucasian people, but they don't make it as accessible for us either, because they know this. So definitely understand. But let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go ahead and work your brain a little bit with your political science. Where you going? So of course, we have a lot of current events that just happened. We had the whole fiasco on the Capitol Hill, on the Capitol building. We have a new president in office. We have our first African American and Asian American vice president woman in office, which is amazing. History is definitely being made every single day. So I just want to ask you some questions about Capitol Hill.
Okay.
The obvious question. What was your first thought? What did you saw what was happening, how it was unfolding? Like, did you even think that it would go that far? Like, what were your thoughts?
So I think the date was January 6th, because they keep saying that this day will live in infamy, and like in history class when you heard about Pearl Harbor, things like that, right? So this is my thing. If it was a bunch of Black people, just like approaching, Capitol Hill, it would have been World War III. Like, it's just that simple. And the fact that, Trump really incited that, like, you may not think he did, but he definitely incited that. Because I've been seeing stuff where they were saying like they have like underground text messages sign up, and they'll send off text messages from Trump to his supporters, and you got to pay attention to his wording
far as
Yeah.
in his speeches when he say, you know, we're going to march down there, and he said, he even said, I was going to be with you. You know, even though he wasn't, but the fact that he was getting them riled up, and I think 4 people died. You know, and it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe I witnessed something like that. Like in my 24 years of living, I never thought I would see something like that. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, for me, when I saw it, it was more of a disappointed, not surprised type of feel. And I felt some type of way only because when it was not even Black people versus white people, when it was racist against non-racist for Black Lives Matter protests, everyone was being shot with rubber bullets. I have videos of people standing on their porch after curfew, looking at the guards walk down their street, and they're getting shot with rubber bullets. These people got into the Capitol, taking podiums, taking flags, writing on Nancy Pelosi's desk. What type of audacity and privilege is that? If people of my descent were to try that, we wouldn't even have made it to the bottom of the steps.
Exactly.
And then I promise you, a good percentage of our people would have died.
So can I say something real quick? So have you guys ever been to DC? Like been like around that?
I hate the street lights.
The security around there, like just like before all this stuff even happened, like it is tight.
Yep, it is.
Security is tight, and just on this one day,
nobody.
But that's why. Have y'all seen the memes where it's like Spider-Man, the KKK, the people with Confederate flags, and it's like, who are you? Who are you? And it's like people are working on the inside. If you saw live videos, people taking pictures with security, like, hey, Bob, and then it's like police officers on their day off, and it's like, this is really, it's disgusting and not surprising to me, though.
But you basically said it, Destiny. It's privilege. It's privilege. I've watched a couple of videos, and I try not to really get into politics. And of course, I exercise my right to vote because we fought very hard for it. So I definitely exercise my right to vote, and I research my candidates and things like that. But I try not to get too deep into politics. But this particular election, it almost forced me to really, really like take this thing seriously because, like you said, it's privilege. I literally watched videos, and it literally looked as if like those police officers literally opened the gates for them.
They did. Exactly. They did.
It was no force telling them no, you can't. It was nothing. They literally welcome. Come right on in. Right?
What's crazy? Larry Hogan, our governor, actually wanted to send troops, to the Capitol Hill, and apparently somebody in the Department of Defense told him no. So I don't know.
Now, you know what's disappointing too? When I watched everything on CNN, I saw the posters that people had. They had like Nancy Pelosi is Satan, and they had like Jesus 2020. And that's one thing that bothers me because people can get misinformed and understand that they're trying to make it seem like the people that were there, they believe in Jesus and that Jesus is 2020 and that they need to act this way because Trump is deserving of his title. But that's not the case. If you love Jesus, you can't not love all his people.
Yeah. But
that's really tricky.
That's a whole different topic because you have different Christian, how a whole different topic.
Yeah, that's why I said that's where it gets tricky because like I said, I try my hardest not to get too deep into politics, and then I try not to mix the Bible with politics, because it can get really sticky. It can get really sticky, and for me, I'm pro Jesus. I'm 100% Jesus all day. But the Bible also says that we have to obey the laws of the land as well. So we got to be really careful when we, try to mix the two, and it gets tricky.
Now, I have a question for Gerard since Jade had mentioned voting earlier. I have some friends who are African American and they feel that, politics isn't on our side, so that they don't need to vote. And I feel as though if our vote didn't matter, our ancestors wouldn't have fought so hard to have a voice. But you know more clearly than I do because you're closer in it. So what is your opinion on that?
On voting, period?
No, voting, and is it important for our people to vote?
Voting is important, period, for no matter who you are, because that is part of our democracy. You know what I'm saying? So it's your fundamental right. It's very important. But let me tell you why it's very important for us. Okay. Because just think about through the history, they used to make our grandfather take tests that was so hard to vote. And I actually seen what one of the tests looked like, and everybody would have failed the test because they made it for you not to pass. So just even thinking about that one example, it makes you think like, wow, voting is really important. You know what I'm saying? Because they made it to where they had laws where, if your grandfather couldn't vote, that means you couldn't vote. Wow. And so if that's the case, who grandfather, like it would be Black people grandfather that couldn't vote back in the day, so they couldn't vote now. So it's just very important. And you know what? I was at a point where I felt like your friends, like, when Donald Trump won, I was just like, are you serious? Like they won, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote and he lost by, he won by the electoral vote. So it's just very important that you need to like stress to your friends, like they need to vote. They need to vote. Because just look at the impact that, the voting turnout had this year.
Yeah.
It's been they said this was the most votes in years history. You know what I'm saying? So we have to have turnout every year, even in the Senate races. Your local races, because that's where it really get important, like your local where you stay, because that's where it's impacting you the most. But it's still important to vote, for the president on a national level.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely hit it on the head. It is definitely extremely important, and I believe our voice. If I didn't see anything else this year in voting, I can say that I saw that our voices really do matter.
Most definitely.
I remember the last voting session. A lot of people was like, well, I'm not voting for what? Because, it don't matter. And look, boom, look what happened.
And I don't mean to cut you off. And it's also the education part as well, because, if you're not educated on it, then you're just going to be like, who cares? Whatever.
Right. Which was basically the mentality that we had.
Exactly. And then the biggest promise that I would love to give to like your friends, like about voting, is look at Georgia. Georgia's been Republican for
ever.
Right. Right. And the fact that it was a big turnout in DeKalb County and Atlanta and Savannah and, in the Black areas where normally it's not a great turnout. Just look at that. That's just one example. So and they almost had Texas too. So just imagine if, like everybody like really took it seriously. Like, yo, tell your homeboy to vote, tell your homegirl to vote, tell your daughter to vote, tell your son to vote. You know what I'm saying? And we will have a great turnout.
Yeah, as proven. I saw that the rate of African Americans voting this year was the highest that it's ever been.
Right.
And we clearly made a difference. That's the only reason.
Just imagine about all the people that didn't vote.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So
but I think that's also why it's important for a person like you, Gerard, to be here, or just like all of us in general, just speaking, because representation really matters, because when people see people like us doing what we need to do, they get more inspired to do what they need to do. And I think it's been like years and years and years where people don't see change, so they start to give up. But when they see others of our descent, or just in general, people continuing to fight, it gives them more courage.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, you are definitely a light, especially seeing someone who not just look like me, but live where I live. You know what I'm saying? Like in the same community as me, and still doing your part in helping change what's going on, helping change what's been going on for years, since the conception of America, if you really want to be honest about it. So yes, you're definitely a valued person. But I do have a question for you. Do you think that the actions of what happened on Capitol Hill, do you think that kind of changed people's perspectives about what Trump and his administration, and
Can you repeat the question over? I don't know what the word.
Oh, no. I said, do you think that the event that happened on Capitol Hill, do you think that changed a lot of the perspectives of people, because I will say that it was from what I heard, that it was a lot of people that were in his administration that was like, I don't know, because of what happened. So do you think that event changed a lot of people's perspectives?
Most definitely. First of all, Trump administration really didn't really have a great approval rating anyway, just because he didn't have no political background. But that Capitol Hill, I'm telling you, like, I really hope that years later, when they talk, because of course they're going to talk about it in history class, things like that. I just really hope that they give the right representation of who this man really was, and what his administration was really about. It's just crazy, like I said, because he incited that, and and just think about it, like, for example, say you guys are have an say you guys are the leader of Young and Bold, right?
Right.
And you have millions of followers of Young and Bold, millions. I'm talking about millions and millions, right? And you know that these people love y'all, like they love y'all. Anything y'all say, they ride for you. You know what I'm saying? And
like the Beehive.
Okay, that's a great example. That's a great. So Beyonce, right? Say Beyonce, tell the Beehive, I'm not really feeling Jay-Z anymore. Da, 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 da. And then she, the Beehive is going to attack. Attack Jay-Z. And that's period.
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see that, even though I guess they're trying to make it sound like he didn't necessarily say it.
Right.
But yeah, with having that perspective that these people are more than just his supporters. These people basically worship everything that comes out of this man's mouth. So of course, if he didn't say it, but it was definitely implied.
But Trump, like, not to get, side note, but Trump really had a big supporting base way before he, even became president. So,
yep, he definitely did.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's what people fail to realize, that he's always had this conservative type of following. He's always had that. It's just now been brought to the front because he's president, because he's out in the front. So now they're stepping up behind him.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I do feel that with everything that happened in Capitol Hill, some perspectives have changed, but not many, if I can say, because I feel like a lot of people, I have a friend who's mixed, and her dad didn't want her to go back to school, not because of COVID, but because she goes to school in Philadelphia, and he said the inner city isn't safe. Wow. And he was referring to y'all know he's referring to.
Yeah.
So she tried to defend herself and say that the people in Capitol Hill and the people that are angry right now are not who she's going to be around, and she's not really concerned. And he had said that the Black Lives Matter protests were far worse, and Black Lives Matter people were far worse. So then she had to hit him with the article that stated everyone in Capitol Hill, it was like terrorists. That was the headline, terrorists. So what is your opinion on the terrorists or the people that may have a fixed mindset on what happened in Capitol Hill?
So question, are you asking that, like, what's the difference between, each like protest and you see what I'm saying? Is that what you're saying as far as like how they label Black Lives Matters as terrorists, but not really Capitol Hill? It's America, like
it's America.
I mean, just for example, even when black on black crime and let's say a white person kills somebody, they don't label that white on white crime. They just say, this person killed this person. But when a black man killed another black man, it's black on black crime, yada yada. But they call us thugs, they call us all this, but they won't do the same thing for the people that's like, how crazy you have to be to, like, I'm just trying to really process like what was going through their minds when they were really planning on attacking the Capitol. Like, this is it is really mind blowing. Like,
yeah, it was
like what possessed you to do such a thing.
Yeah, like
by any means necessary type thing, which is
like on some real stuff. Like, I wouldn't even be if I was to do something like that. I wouldn't even be scared of the police. I would be scared to come back home.
Yeah,
like to my mama. Like my mom would handle me before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be scared to see her. Like, I'd rather go to the police than to see
go back home
to see that face. And when she sees her child on social media going viral for doing something like that.
Yeah, but it was literally a by any means necessary. We're going to do whatever we have to do and if anything, that's scary. At least with the Black Lives Matter movement, first of all, we were not armed. They were armed with guns, like big guns, like not just little handguns. They had rifles, machine guns. Well, probably not machine guns, but they definitely had rifles and like all type. They were armed people. They were armed and they were violent. We were just standing there speaking. We had no weapons. We had our sign. The only weapons we had was our mouth, and clearly that was enough to incite war.
You know what they do. So with the Black Lives Matter protest, part of it was, peaceful. Then you had people who wasn't part of Black Lives Matter doing looting and stuff like that, beating people up or whatever. That's not. They try to associate that with Black Lives Matter just because it all happened like with the same event. But okay, if we let's do this. Double advocate. If y'all gonna do that, why don't y'all do the same thing for the people that was, peacefully protesting, saying that they want Trump to be their president? He won. Compared to the people that later on went down to the Capitol building and first of all, y'all sat at Nancy Pelosi's desk
and took pictures.
And was really chilling, like
was smiling, taking out podiums.
Right. And they were in the room where they were out in the vote, like
really having fun,
like just having a grand old time.
Like nothing's wrong. Like nothing's wrong.
Taking pictures.
It was. I can definitely say that it was definitely a double standard in how all of that transpired. However, something amazing came out of it. We now have a brand new president, a brand new vice president, whom I believe, well, I hope and pray will definitely make some changes. From what I'm hearing, I believe he's already making some amazing
on the first day.
On the very first day, which is amazing. So let's talk about the inauguration. Let's move. The Capitol happened. it actually, believe it or not, what as horrible as it was, a lot of things were brought to the open. A lot of things were, people saw some things. Some minds were changed. Some very important minds were changed, and now we have this new administration. So let's talk about this amazing, amazing inauguration that happened last week. I missed the concert. So if y'all saw the concert, fill me in on what happened at the
I missed the
concert.
concert too. I missed the concert too, but I heard it was pretty amazing though.
Yeah,
When I started paying attention, I saw J-Lo singing.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little confused with her "Let's Get Loud" part, but you know, if you feel it, do it, girl. But I paid attention with the poem presented by Amanda Gorman.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, can we talk about how she had a natural protective style? She has a lot of, she's a little chocolate, and that is important. You know how many little girls probably saw her and was like, "Mommy, she looks like me."
Mm-hmm.
And she was very articulate. And I feel like that already is breaking barriers, because we already have a stereotype that Black men and women don't know how to articulate.
Yep.
So she in front of nationwide.
Right.
Do you understand how powerful that was?
Yeah.
It was very it was very, what's the word? Like, it was like a relief, especially because I can just remember the day I was on South Carolina State campus and I found out that Donald Trump won, and how these last 4 years went, it was unbearable. Like, it was just pure racism in your face compared to, it was still racism, but it was, hidden, before Trump. And then when Trump came, they just lost their mind. So the fact that, we're entering in a new administration, a new phase, Joe Biden, like I said, on the first day, he signed like 17 executive orders that help out with this coronavirus pandemic, which is I can't wait to get out of.
Amen.
But it was a great day. It was definitely a great day.
Definitely. And I if I may, I just need to talk about the fashion that was happening at the inauguration. I just loved and of course we paid attention to Michelle Obama because she killed it 100%.
But she kills it every time though. You know what I'm saying? It's not really,
Yeah.
I must say she was best dressed, and I mean that with the most respect to everyone present. But she was best dressed. It wasn't even her event.
She definitely did break some necks. As
she had the mask match and the jacket.
The gloves.
Yeah.
Next, but what I will say that I noticed with all of them, Michelle, Kamala, I really hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly.
Just say Miss Harris.
Yeah, Miss Harris, Jill, even Hillary. They were all kind of in the same. They didn't have on the same color, but they were in the same scheme. They all had like these like jewel tone colors, as if they all planned it. It was like they were all on one accord, which was such a beautiful thing.
Can I ask y'all a question real quick? So I know y'all, do y'all be on social media
all the time? We talk about Bernie.
Not not Bernie, but have y'all seen like the fist pump between?
Yeah,
that was
how did y'all feel about that?
I cried. I actually cried because it was almost like we did this.
Right, like it was like
we did, because initially it started with them. It started with them being the first African American. I think, what is he, Haitian? I think, or
you talking about Obama?
Barack, yeah. What is his actual nationality? Because they're technically saying he's not black, but he's
right.
Black.
They trying to say I think like Hawaiian, or I think I think it's Hawaiian. Yeah.
But he's black, and it start. If anything, Michelle is black.
Yeah, like straight up.
This is black. But it started with them, and then with the whole Trump administration that happened in between, it got I think we probably got a little scared, like, okay, like, oh Lord, we done made history and now they done did this. But then to see them almost come back and be like, nah, we still here, we still making history. It was almost like we did this. Like we can do this. And our children, this won't be a thing of, what's the word I'm trying to use? This won't be like it won't be a surprise for our children because they'll be able to say, oh, my dad was president. My grandfather was president, or my aunt was president. My great aunt was president. Like that's going to be a normal conversation for the generation after us. Like that's what I saw.
I feel that
but just think how long it took for this to even happen. You know what I'm saying? Like our history is U.S. history is almost about 250 years, and we just getting our first president like 8 years ago.
Yeah, but better late than never.
Right.
That's what I'll say. Better late than never. Now it's almost like a thing of like there really is nothing that we cannot do.
Right.
We've proven that is nothing that we cannot do.
Just talking about the fist bump, I think it was so cool with the memes because you have all your social media aunties and uncles and cousins talking about making captions. And it's just like beautiful how little things, a fist bump isn't just for Black people, but the look and the notion, it's just, it was so
like
beautiful.
You know
what they thinking.
Like
we here with it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I love so much about our culture is a simple fist bump like that. Everybody in our culture knew exactly what that meant. Like it was almost like we didn't even have to hear what they were saying. We just knew what that meant. Like I said, I sat on my couch and cried. I was at work. I work from home and I was working and I bawling. I had to put my little caller on hold because I was crying because I was like, oh my goodness, this is really happening. Like this is great.
So what do y'all think about Bernie Sanders and the memes of Bernie Sanders going viral?
That meme was amazing. I love it. I just love Bernie, period. I just love Bernie Sanders, period. He's amazing. He's definitely amazing. But it looks like we have lost Gerard. I think he was having some internet issues, but he'll definitely be back with us soon. Oh, there he is.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh.
There he is. But there was a part. You want to go ahead and do it? You can go ahead and read the poem.
Okay. Before the poem, I had asked Jay what she thought about the Bernie Sanders meme.
Oh yeah.
You had went out. So what did you think about all that?
You know how? So I'm a big Twitter guy. So you know, people are like just have a picture and say boom. Is it boom clat? It's like boom clat, and then like retweet, like you know, whatever, and just seeing people like, oh, this is me when I'm waiting on my mom and I say I'm hungry.
Or when she said we about to leave in a few minutes and it's been 2 hours.
Sitting here, right? Like I thought it was funny. Like,
yeah,
me too.
And also how they incorporated him, a Caucasian man, in our culture. It just fit so perfectly, and it was. I loved it. I was telling Destiny, I just love it. I love Bernie Sanders, period. I think he's a thug on the low. In the best way, not how they categorize us, but
he's definitely I'll say this about Bernie, like he puts his mouth where, you know, he backs his word up, basically.
Yeah, I love him. I love him. Okay,
Okay, so I have a snippet from the poem that Amanda Gorman presented to us all that I really think is important, and y'all can tell me what y'all take from it. It says, we've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned the quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what it is isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we did it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. Now, to me, that last part saying a nation isn't broken but simply unfinished, that is very important, because I feel like a lot of us lose hope in society. Because if you look at history, 9 times out of 10, February is around the corner, right? Every time in February and going to PWI school, they always want to bring light to slavery. They want to talk about slavery. But Black men and women are not just, that's not our only history. We are kings and queens. If you think about the oldest human fossil, it is going to be found in Africa. We are very important. We are kings and queens again. So we're not broken. It's not unfinished. We just need to bring light to what it is that society doesn't always show.
And just to piggyback off you, like we were people before slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
Like when you always start with Black history topics, they start right at slavery and then move on up. But like I said, we were definitely here before, you know, 1500 or 1492, whatever the exact years. But it's just that, like you said, that last line, we're far from finished, because we still have some more ways to go for what is systematic racism, and how just little things, like for example in Atlanta, I just seen that they are stopping drug tests and physicals for certain jobs because Keisha is the mayor of Atlanta, and she knows that only really affects minorities.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're leading in diabetes, you know, things that can affect your work. And, you know, it's just a lot that we need to get done. And that's why I'm here, and other political science are here. And
but not to cut you off, can you explain what systematic racism is? Because some people don't either they don't understand it fully to agree with it, or they just disagree.
So it's really no like exact, you know, definition, but you know, you are always going to come around the same thing. You'll hear the same things. You know what I'm saying when people talk about systematic racism. So you know what racism is? It's pure just you know, you don't like somebody because of their origin, their what's the word? Their race, things like that. But systematic racism is more where I don't want to say the US government, but you know, governments can place have you guys ever heard of redlining, where it can have Black people just live all in one area where is poverty, and you know, you don't have the resources, and they'll really just restrict you to that area compared to white neighborhoods. You know, they have more the resources in that neighborhood, you know, things like that. Also with jobs, you know, you're not really getting selected with, you know, you were qualified for the position, but they pick somebody, a white person, you know, just because off of your race. So it could go in a lot of ways. Housing, like how you get housing, you can get selected here because of your race. It's so many different avenues. Schools, you don't get selected because, you know, you're Black. You know, it's just so many different realms.
Would for systematic racism, this is just a question. Does where you live also play a part in systematic racism, like where you live and like
most definitely. Like have you ever heard of people having lead?
No, I haven't.
So lead, is it like lead poisoning, right?
Yeah, like lead poisoning.
Okay.
Yeah, like so Baltimore, like when we were growing up, Baltimore was leading in cases with lead, and it was really, you only really seen it in like Black neighborhoods. It's just crazy. Like I said, they have this thing called redlining, where they really just take a map, literally red, like with the red, and like have this section like marked off for where Black people can stay. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? They're not going to put no white person in that area just because they know, what things with like lead, drug infested areas. They're not going to put no white person around there.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, we have one last question for you, and we appreciate you so much for being here, your knowledge and your
Yes,
wisdom,
thank you.
that you
Thank
definitely
you.
shared with us. Definitely opened up my eyes to a lot of things that I did not know before. But if you were to come into contact with someone who, like you, is interested in political science, but is a little bit discouraged because of everything that has happened recently, what advice would you give them?
Mm.
Especially since our topic was being a Black man in America, what would you give that Black boy?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say, so you saying that he wants to be involved with, okay, because like when you trying to give somebody some advice, but they don't want to rock with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's basically like talking to a brick wall, but talking to somebody that is interested, but they just, not afraid, but yeah, a little discouraged. So I would say go out on faith, because I mean that's what I did. Like I said earlier in this show, is that, like I said, political science is tough because it's a lot of definitions you need to know. It's a lot of scenarios you need to know. It's a lot of research put involved. It's a lot of data collection. It's a lot of critical thinking. It's a lot of analyzing skill. Like you really have to put your all into political science to be successful. I would just say, if you really have love for change and you want to see change, do political science. It's not going to be, nothing is easy. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is easy. So if you feel like this is what is made for you, then do it. Always ask for help with your teachers, definitely, because that's what I do. Like, no question, I definitely ask for help. But also just have faith in yourself that you can do it. That's what I would say.
Well, thank you so much. Do you have social media or any platforms that you'd like to share for our viewers to
Yes.
follow you?
My Instagram is Nike Raw 6, and let me just explain what that is. So Nike Raw 6 was when I was playing basketball back in like 8th grade, 9th grade, like high school, but I just never changed my name. So Nike Rod 6. So SNIKEROD 6. And then my Twitter is @RoddyMan, and that's like my nickname. And it's RODYMANE.
Okay. And I think, just to recap the show, everyone watching this, I think you should take away, be the change that you want to see in America. If you notice that there's a problem and you want something to happen, don't be afraid to do your research. As you can see, it's possible. Gerard is doing it. He's living and breathing example that anything is possible, and don't give up on yourself.
Most definitely.
Everyone has fought too long to give up,
Yeah.
Yep. And we're still fighting. It's not, we're by far
Every
from
day.
finished. It's still a whole lot of work that needs to be done. It's gonna we're gonna need people to pass the mantle on to. So when it's your time, be ready.
Yes.
Absolutely. So Gerard, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, offering your advice. It was so much. Like I said, I've been on this earth 29 years. And it was so much wisdom that you shared that I didn't even know. So I definitely appreciate you. Appreciate you being a Black man in America, an educated Black man in America, doing your part and making the necessary changes so that other Black men and women in America can also be educated and can also be just as successful. And I appreciate you, Black King.
I
Thank you.
also appreciate you for being able to explain everything that's necessary in a way for me to understand it. You simplified it enough for, I'm sure, me and the other viewers. But as we're drawing this to a close, I want you all to make sure you tune in at 12 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday on Elevation Global Media Group. Check our Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And
Mhm.
please, please, please make sure you download Your Life Talk Radio and be on the lookout for our new shows. If you like this show, I'm sure you're going to like all the other shows that are coming. And please make sure you stay in contact with us. And we also have a studio in the Towson area. So if you're looking to shoot photos, if you're looking to have a podcast, do your YouTube, we have an amazing crew and amazing, amazing people just on our team. So be sure to be on the lookout.
Yeah. All right. Thank y'all.
All righty. Thank you.